Ladies and gentlemen, the Eye of Azshara, level 100 dungeon. Pretty fun. You get to go back up against some Naga here. You've got some neutral neutral mobs also. You've got the turtles, you've got snails, the most dangerous snails on the planet. Really, guys, this is a fun place. It's got some really interesting mechanics. You can see we're tearing through this not too terribly quick. I did do this as the Demon Hunter because, well, to be quite honest, it's just one of those fights that you want to get everything taken care of and done. And I wanted to get it done quick, so I did choose the Demon Hunter to get in here, tank it, and actually know that I'm going to get this successful. Because a lot of people have problems with what would be the third boss, either direction you end up going, and it's the large snakehead. We'll get to that here in a minute, but take a look at it, guys. Pretty good. You can see there's a lot of new models. The new Naga Hulk kind of thing is really interesting. Multiple eyes everywhere, and it's just a beast. It hits hard. But other than that, guys, the trash does not do a whole hell of a lot. You've got the casters over here. They show you the generals of where most of their damage is going to be. Just get out of it. Simple stuff. Interrupts, always good. Right now, on normal, this is, again, level 100 normal dungeon. Simple, guys. Simple trash works. As long as you take them one at a time, you shouldn't have any problems with this dungeon. Pushing through, it's nothing big. The turtles will cast shield. Like I said, the dangerous snails, I do end up showing one of them up here just to show you. They do a nasty frontal cone, and you just got to move out of it, even if you are the tank. But here we are. We're on the first boss. He does a couple different abilities. Nothing too bad. Again, it's a fairly simple dungeon, guys. But you've got the ads, and the main thing you're going to want to end up doing with this is he's going to randomly target somebody and put a humongous arrow on the ground. And every time he does this, call reinforcements. You just got to pick up the ad if you're a tank, guys. But when you see this giant arrow, you want to put yourself, there it is, put yourself between the ad and the boss. And boom, there it is. Ad's gone, don't have to worry about it, it's dead. And then you just get back on the boss. Easiest mechanic on the planet, but it is an interesting one. You get to see it speared. If not, you end up running around with a humongous spear shoved right through your chest. And to be honest with you guys, that even in his enrage, he doesn't hit very hard. But to be really honest with you, he doesn't do a whole hell of a lot. He does a spear. It does a lot of ticking damage. No big deal. And then here's another new model. It's like a swamp giant, and they've got two different kinds of these. They've got one that does more of caster abilities, and I'll show that here in a minute. And then you've got this guy that's just a brute. He punches you and he hits you pretty hard for physical damage. No major mechanics. He's gonna do this fury thing. It does AoE. Guys, again, this is a fairly easy dungeon. Now, the part that's great about this dungeon is how good looking it is. It is completely in the open world. It is still an instance dungeon, but you can see everything. It is awesome. After the second boss that you kill, depending on which way well, either way you go, and here's that snail. But you'll end up getting this wind that starts kicking in. It really changes up the gameplay, and it seems to increase per each boss kill that you do for, I guess, like an added difficulty mechanic, and it's awesome. Enjoy it. But abrasive slime on the snails, guys. If you do get in here, I mean, the murlocs in this part don't do much, but the snails themselves are actually a neutral mod that are easily pulled. If you get it, don't worry about it. They move really slow. If they start casting abrasive slime, you can just step behind it like that and completely negate the mechanic. If you stay in front, it's going to do a shit ton of damage, and you're going to be, well, probably doing the walk of shame all the way back to where you just died at, or waiting for a res, whichever comes first. Especially if you're a DPS and you're in front of it, it'll do it quick. This pull was by far one of the most interesting. You get one of the giants, and then you get another style giant, which does more caster stuff. It does this massive quake. You see all the little swirlies on the ground. It's doing heavy AoE from the other one, and it just a lot of damage here. Healers, be prepped, because this is going to rock your shit. Easiest way to put this pull in heroic, this is going to be insane, because neither one of these guys can be insane, or stunned, or CC'd, and it just, you gotta watch where you're putting your feet. You're doing a lot of dancing on these guys, and you're definitely gonna want to focus one down over the split stuff that we've got going on right now. Good group, though, and we made this very simple, very easy, and we had a lot of really good damage, guys, so keep that in mind. I don't have this sped up at all, just for that reason. We tear through the stuff real quick compared to some of the groups, so you're getting to see this in real time instead of sped up like I do most of my dungeon guides. And here comes boss number 2. Depending on which way you go. You can go the other way and take what's going to be technically the 4th boss, but we don't end up doing that here, guys. We're just going to end up running right on through. I do end up grabbing the mammoth here because I notice that I'm low on durability. Just something that happens after you end up tanking for a bit. You get beat enough, you end up having to need a repair. So, this guy, what he's going to do, and we'll be getting right into it, he doesn't last very long, but he does some pretty nasty tank damage. He also does some swirlies on the ground that you got to avoid, unless you get this ability where he puts some bubbles on you. And then those bubbles, you got to actually walk across the swirlies till it disappears, because you have to take damage to remove this thing. Exactly opposite of what you would normally do. But there's the gaseous bubbles, and you'll see the two players that actually have it. Upcoming, we'll end up getting the swirls. Here they are. Most people want to avoid them unless you have that, because the damage is going to be insane. If you don't get rid of those bubbles by the time the debuff expires, what's going to happen is they'll explode. They do humongous party-wide damage, and it's going to either tax your healer too much to where it runs and you end up dying, or you're going to just basically die off on the first hit. It's that taxing, guys. And again, if you end up walking over these little blue circles, the damage that you end up taking is what ends up reducing this bubble to where it goes away. Just run across them till it comes off, and then you can get back on the boss. Otherwise, see how much damage we ended up taking there. Healer was pretty awesome, got us topped up really well. Again, damage is really high up there, so no one really broke off to end up taking care of the mechanic as much, but we still muscled through it fairly easy. And here we go, he's gonna die. Then we're gonna head towards the middle. Now this whole middle area is just completely open. You'll see the wind mechanic. I wanted to show this this one mob here because he is the only real troublemaker if you don't know what's going on. But he does this bouncing blue lightning orb thing that when it lands, it just continues going. If you play HOTS at all, it kind of reminds me of Cho'Gall's orb, and it just keeps bouncing out there. So it's not a hard mechanic by any means to get past, but you do want to end up avoiding it because it hits, and it hits hard. Third boss for us, guys. Third boss either direction you go, actually, and it's Serpentix. It actually reminds me of Megara in what was it, Throne of Thunder? I believe that was the dungeon. Don't quote me. Okay. Anyways, we're gonna go ahead and skip my lack of memory here. But what you're gonna want to do is you're gonna want to DPS this guy until I want to say it's either 60 or 70%, and then he goes underneath. It might even be 66% every third. Tank, stay on the green head. DPS are going to want to focus on one, and then split back over to the other red head until they end up going down. The reason why the tank's got to stay on Serpentix is because he will sit there and just non-stop cast an ability called Rampage that you will have to interrupt. So keep an eye on that one. And the fireheads just do constant AoE, and the reason why I say focus them is because if you split your DPS, it's way too much damage to heal through, even on normal right now, and it becomes a pain. Just knocked him down before they even got the last head down, solo as the Demon Hunter, and here's the Rampage that I was talking about, guys. You just want to get to it, interrupt it. Huge AoE damage. Healers, you got to be on point, and your group has to stay together. Usually the tank can separate itself, enough mitigation. This guy doesn't hit very hard off the normal head, but everyone else is going to want to stay grouped. That way you can actually push through this, kill off the heads. Again, focus one head down, then go to the next one. You can interrupt its little fire blast, but he casts it so soon you will have to make sure you've got at least 2 people trying to do the interrupt. And if you keep one down, the other one's not going to do enough damage to really end up messing anything up too bad. So this guy, in a nutshell, really good fight. Really easy to mess up, though. Really, really easy. Because you also see that he's spewing out all this other stuff. He also targets one person and makes him drop little gas clouds that tick for a bunch. There's nothing really too exceptional. It may take you a couple tries on that guy, so don't go too bad. Now, right after you kill this guy, or you can do this as a second one, you're going to end up going into this little forested area right next to the swamp, and you're going to want to kill 2 of these Hate Coil Arcanists. You need to kill these to end up getting access to either the 2nd or 4th boss, depending on which way you end up going. And they're not hard. Very simple mechanics, guys. You can see the wind effect kicking in, and it gets stronger and stronger from this point after you kill the bosses. 5 bosses total in here. But when you're on the 5th boss, the Wrath of Azshara, I believe is the name of it, it becomes a little bit tough to stay close because of how hard this wind's actually pushing. The storm just gets stronger and stronger as it goes. Great mechanic, Blizzard. Really turns in the effect of how you want to play this. If you ended up doing it in reverse from what we did, you would be in a lot of trouble because that 2nd boss would really be messing you up with all this wind. So here's Lady Hate Coil, and she casts a couple different abilities. Beckon Storm, Static, and then there's a 3rd one. I cannot think of it right now, but it's a debuff that she throws on you, and what it does is cause damage in a cone, but it also causes you to knock back anybody that is in front of you in that cone area. You can kind of see the general. You just want to turn yourself kind of slightly off so you don't blow everyone across the room. But the first one, Static Nova, you'll see these little platforms of dirt. You want to get up on them. If you stay in, you're going to end up getting stunned, guys. And you can see the purple stuff. Everywhere that you end up facing is going to throw it. I got knocked a few times, causes some issues. And the other one is Focus Lightning. Focus Lightning, you want to stay out of the dirt, because if you get on it, get on a dirt mound, it's going to eliminate that dirt mound and kind of act like a softened rage if people don't know what's going on. Again, guys, this fight was really interesting also, running the different mechanics. You do have the little slime puddles that keep coming up also. They don't do too terribly much, so I wasn't too worried about them. But you'll see a lot to interact with. On Heroic, this fight is probably going to be one of the biggest pains in the ass you've ever seen. And in the challenge modes, just because of how you're going to have to relearn how to face yourself. Everybody's used to being, alright, tank in front of the boss, you know, facing the direction, but if you get too close, you're going to start blowing each other everywhere. And the counteracting of the mechanics are going to be insane. Now, coming up onto the last boss here, what you're looking at, you see all these people that are doing a channeling ability, and they kind of give you a brief of what the boss is going to do. You see the little waves being pushed. That's going to be something you got to deal with. And then this right here, this magic binding, I can't see it up here, but what it does is basically it's going to put an orb over a friendly player right there, and it's going to follow that person until it drops. The way you get it to stop following somebody is healers, you need to dispel them, and that's something that carries over into the boss also. Really fun, interesting little mechanic. If you don't take it off, it follows them and it does a huge amount of AoE damage on top of them, but you can completely ignore it if you dispel fast enough, and they can get away and it'll do no damage. It'll drop right in that spot. Just make sure you don't run back into it, obviously. Now with us on this last one, this trash didn't seem to do too terribly much except for the one Arcane Bomb. That's what it's actually called, guys, not Magic Binding. But the Arcane Bomb was the only thing that was interesting in this trash. And we're going to go right into the Wrath of Azshara. It starts off in execute range, ladies and gentlemen. It basically, you stop them in the middle of the summoning of this creature, and it is not completely ready. The Wrath of Azshara is a really neat looking half Naga elemental thing. Not a hard boss by any means, at least on the normal version. But you'll see it does this big AoE cluster on the tank usually. It does a slow. You just want to get out of it. Arcane Bomb's continuing. And then you still have the wind to deal with. That'll end up pushing you in. They do have to kind of fix the hitbox on this boss, because I noticed some of my abilities did not want to work without either A, dragging me into the water, causing extra damage, or B, just not wanting to work at all because of where it's at. So, this being said, guys, there's still some tuning. It's still alpha. It plays out nice. It is a very fun dungeon, and it looks awesome. I can't wait to test this one on heroic just to see how insane it really is, because you can see all the different mechanics that are going on, but currently they don't hit you for anything. They are absolutely null and void. I'm standing in stuff on purpose to try and take damage just so I can beat out the healer. But guys, this is it. I want to thank you all, and again, if you enjoyed it, like and subscribe, and we'll get you some more. Alright? Have a great day.